So today I'd like to celebrate Earth Day with you in poetry, with poems that I've written over the years in search of words that might at least begin to point to a spirituality of earth consciousness. Because if our souls are entwined with the earth, if our hearts are attuned to the rhythms of the earth, then we will pay attention to our relationship with life on this precious planet. We'll do all we can to preserve it. We'll vote accordingly and act accordingly to protect it from human-caused catastrophic climate change. So let's engage our poetic religion and our religious poetry for the cause of environmental preservation. And I pray that my earth poetry will inspire your earth poetry, whether or not you ever write it down. Because there are these moments, right, when you have a poetic feeling, a poetic sensibility, when you see the world and experience the world poetically, even if you don't write the poem down or can't find the words. So let us nurture our poetic imaginations, our poetic connection with the earth, so that it motivates us to join with others in saving our earth from the depredations that face it today. This first poem is one I wrote for communion, for the Eucharist. And it's a way of connecting our experience of the bread and the wine and communion with the earth. The tongue remembers the evening light on the mountain vineyard, the texture of dirt between rows, the colors of the turning leaves at the harvest, the grapes that the fermenting wine forgot. The nose recollects the distant silos beyond the sea of sighing stalks, the sight of a thunderhead boiling over golden fields, the grain that the rising and baking bread forgot. Sometimes I write stuff down without ever finishing the poem, and later I discovered that the fragments are just fine the way they are, little broken pieces that still tell a story and evoke an experience. So here are some of these fragments that I've collected from the beginnings of writing poems. What hunger fixes my eyes on that high ridge of serrated stone? How do my feet find their own way around the rocks on the trail? Who reversed gravity? What pulls me by the heart up this mountain switchback? I'm still trying and failing to explain why I have to climb Atalaya Mountain whenever I go to northern New Mexico. How many pilgrims and for how long would it take if they carried sanctified stones and laid them on top of each other to make you, O mountain, here is my stone? The best thing about this enormous thunderhead, swelling against the ceiling of the sky, its heart beating with shrouded pulses of light and muffled booms of sound, its billows glowing purple, pink, and orange, its moisture dropping in dark sheets onto the shadowed mountain, is that it isn't about how I see it. I have hiked through land so beautiful that now even my shoes have soles. A bird keeps chirping the same tune. I keep wondering why it does that, until I wonder why I wonder. Who breathed out the austere clouds hovering over that snow-capped mountain, hazed in heights of blue air? Because the earth is all around, the earth I cannot see, because I use my eyes to look, my eyes are lost to me. Because my God is everywhere and flames my heart with awe, the face of the one I love the most is the hardest one to draw. I played hooky this week. I took 3 days and went to the desert. Spent Earth Day in Death Valley. Awesome. Being out there cleared the cobwebs out of my head. The vastness sweeps away self-absorption, puts all my cares and woes into geological perspective. Here are a few that capture a bit of what stirs in my soul when I'm out there in the desert. This one's titled Mecca. Dates dangle from the crown of the palm. Climb for a cluster at red-rimmed dawn. Add your dust to the glowing wind. Make your plea to the whirling djinn. Walk the blade of a shifting dune. Breathe the mood of a cricket's tune. Keep the secrets of the sighing sands. Guard the shadow in your folded hands. Let shapes of distance boil in heat, and stones wear down beneath your feet. Let now mirage into a then, until this once becomes again. Ever eastward may you roam, till memory fails to call you home, till minarets at sundown gleam, and what is real transcends your dream. Wrote this after some time out in the Mojave a few years back. Thunder follows lightning beyond an outcrop of stone slabs, framed by clusters of Joshua trees with spikes shivering in the wind. A dark, gauzy curtain descends from a boiling mass of cloud. Scattered spits of rain puff dust out of tiny craters that they form on impact in the fine dirt. The cooling air fills with the overwhelming scent of wet creosote. Jackrabbits dance among the cholla in their search for covers. Pale dirt turns dark, then bright with sheets of water shining steel gray in reflection of the storming sky. Darkened dirt begins to move as mud. Rivulets form and flow into each other, dropping to wet the dry wash. Gray-brown water churns around swirls of sand, rattles round rocks, cuts curves, disorganizes and reorganizes rocks and twigs, grinds coarse to fine flash boom. I wrote this little meditation after our granddaughter Rumi, who was 4 years old at the time, went to the Natural History Museum with my wife and asked a deep question. At the museum, looking at a magnificent striped seashell, our 4-year-old granddaughter asked my wife, "Who made it?" After a sigh and a pause, my non-religious wife answered, "God." When my wife told me this story, she asked me, her ordained Christian pastor husband, how I would have answered. I responded by stretching my arms outward, upward, downward, behind, beyond, gesturing inward, up and down my body with my hands, and then outward again. "That's who made it," I said. Roberta and I took a hike at Placerita Canyon. Anybody up there? You like that spot? Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, a little tucked away, oddball place. You wouldn't even know it was there. And there we discovered the Oak of the Golden Dream. What a title, huh? It was assigned by Highway 14. This way to the Oak of the Golden Dream. How can you not go to the Oak of the Golden Dream? Perfect. It's an old tree with a burnt, hollowed out trunk and scrubby leaves with some brass plaques in front of it. Legend, fact, who knows? But the story is that a vaquero in 1842 by the name of Francisco Lopez took a nap under the tree and had a dream that he was floating in a pool of gold. And when he woke up, he went to forage for some food and found some wild onions that he pulled out of the ground. And in the roots of the onion were little flecks of gold, which started a bit of a gold rush up Placerita Canyon. So I wrote this poem about it. On a bed of leaves, I laid my head below an old oak tree and floated in a lake of gold in a dreaming reverie. Without a fear and blissful peace in liquid gold I lay. The sunshine warmed my joy-filled face as I drifted all the day on treasure that was measureless, a weight too great to see. Unlike a ring to own and wear, this ring of gold wore me. What matters most I cannot keep. What holds me up owns me. This was the treasured truth I learned beneath that old oak tree. For about 5 years, Roberta and I had the great good fortune of being invited to a conference every year, hosted at a conference at Esalen Institute at Big Sur, famous for its human potential workshops and its hot tubs. Famous for that. The hot tubs are on a cliff above the ocean, spectacular. So this poem bubbled up during one of those visits. 4 billion years ago, clouds spat rain on flowing lava. Hot vents stirred the seabed and troubled the primal mud into life. 2,000 years ago, to heal a man of blindness, Jesus spat in the dust, pinched that warm mud from the ground, and smeared it into the man's eyes. Through cracks from the hot core of the earth, water bubbles up and fills the cliffside tub in which I soak. I breathe its sulfured vapor. Boils of fog float around a mountain, stippled with chaparral. Gull wings sigh on the onshore updraft. Sunlight finds the feathered branches of a cypress. Waves rumble and flush. Veils of foam fly back from the curling edge of surf. If mud obscured my eyes long enough to break the spell that they put on me, could I then see deeper into the heart of the world? Gazing at the moon can be a very profound spiritual practice. Anybody who's a practitioner of this out there? Gazing at the moon, taking special extra time, kind of making a ritual of going, okay, time to go look at the moon. Japanese culture, big deal, gazing at the moon, right? And it's all of its aspects. Admiring the moon with reverence as it goes through its phases. It's an orb dangling in space that reminds us that we live on an orb dangling in space, all lonesome in the cosmos. So gazing at the moon leaves us wordless in awe. So, of course, here are some words to express that wordlessness. The title of this one is Eraser Moon. Pale sliver moon dangling, in the turquoise dusk. No, it's better than that. It's all that is left of the rubbery stub at the top of my pencil, worn down to a thin white curve by erasing the inadequate words I used to try to describe it. Wrote this one after a hike up in a Devil's Punch Bowl on the backside of the San Gabriel Mountains toward the Mojave. Just took some students up there for a day of Christian contemplative practice amid the rocks and caves. Sadly, the yucca trees and the Joshuas and the pines and junipers that used to be all over that beautiful mountainside have been burned to a crisp by wildfires. Human-caused consequences, something to meditate on. Mountain-shaped silhouettes mark the tall, pale stalk of a spent yucca. Are these its last lines of praise for the land where it stands? Above, the yellow pine sighs with the deep gratitude I feel as wind vibrates its long, needled vocal cords. Below, in the canyon, slabs of pale sandstone tilt sunward. The fault line that lifts them carves a long notch into the mountains beyond and drives a crack through my imagination. A thin, bright stream shapes the stone with tumbling grains of sand. A pinon tree lifts hidden water through roots, up its trunk, through needles, and into the air. Slowing, I breathe scents of sage and pine. This is the silence of the centuries between the last earthquake and the next. No less alive than I is all I see. The ground on which I stand, can I stop long enough to catch the heartbeat of this earth? Hawaii. There's a sacred place, yes. A sacred land where the people who live on those islands have a very deep reverence for the natural world around them and a very crystal clear awareness of how delicate that environment is. Every step you walk there is a prayer. I scan for your island horizon. I follow the fish in your sea. I swim past the stones in your tide pool and slide on the sand of your beach. I study your tracks in the ocean. I'm guided by stars in your sky. I aim myself toward your volcano and follow your birds as they fly. I slip on the paths of your jungle and slosh through your tumbling creeks. In each step of my seeking, I find you as I climb up the spines of your peaks. I'm fascinated by geology. I think part of that fascination is just that you look at the strata and the twists and the uplifts and the turns and the flops that all of these strata go through over billions of years, and you just realize what tiny blips we are in the scheme of things. You know, we're going to just be a dark shadow in the middle of a strata on a mountainside someday. And that's okay. That's okay. It leaves me giddy to think about it, humbled, grateful to be disoriented when I look at those geologic formations. Earth's hot blood rises, bursts and pours, scabs rough black across the plains, sinks, boils again, rises slow, cools, congeals as crystals grow, then lifts up the crust to wind and rains that cut by streams that wash down grains through canyons steep that memories keep and layers deep. and open out to fans and dunes and bottomlands beside the seas. O churning earth with jutting slabs and snow-bound peaks and stippled plains and tumbling creeks that swell the souls but shrink the pride of mortals who across you stride. And I close with this benediction I wrote 45 years ago and have been using ever since, reflecting my enduring conviction that if I want to know God, or URFKAG, you ever heard that term? URFKAG, ultimate reality formerly known as God. Another way to get at it. If I want to know God or ultimate reality, all I need to do is read the book of nature. May the peace of God surround you like trees of the forest. May the peace of God warm you all over like the sun in the sky. May the peace of God swell and roll over you like a wave in the sea. May the peace of God fill you like cool wind. May the peace of God be with you. Amen. Let's sing.
Please join me in our closing hymn.